Guys, the 5.6 beta has started and we got info about the new characters. The new 5-star of the patch is Escoffier, a character we know nothing about from the current story and that will probably make her first appearance in 5.6. Escoffier is a cryo-polyarm character, and their focus is basically on making trees great again. She could be described as a Chevreuse or Nilo equivalent for the composition, although she has some positive differences compared to those two, which I'll analyze later. Her base and ascension stats are those of a damage-dealing character, since she has high base attack and crit rate. Also, she's from Fontaine, so finally we have a break from all the Night Soul related stuff. Do you want to get Varesa or Xianyun but you don't have enough gems to do so? I think I might have the right solution for you. This video has been sponsored by Lootbar, a website that allows you to buy Genesis Crystal for cheaper than the actual amount it will cost in-game, so you can hopefully get all the characters you want. This is not a trick or a scam that will get you banned, of course, and I can testify it because I use Lootbar myself. I know it sounds suspicious, but from my experience, buying from Lootbar is really no different from buying from any other source. I've used it myself, and again, never had problems with Hoyoverse due to it. And so, Lootbar simply uses these legal systems to provide a cheaper price worldwide, and this is perfectly legal. I've never heard people that had problems due to it. The whole process is also pretty easy and straightforward. You just have to fill out the forms that require your UID and server region, pay through the site, and you will receive the Genesis Crystal in-game shortly after. This way you will be able to get all the amazing characters you want, but at a lower price than you would otherwise pay. You'll be able to reach Lootbar and even get various discounts by clicking the link in the description below. New users also get a one-time 8% off coupon. You can get it by accessing through my link. Kit-wise, I'm not gonna lie, she's pretty loaded. She's an off-field unit, and as I said before, she's meant to help those compositions filled with Hydro and Cryo characters. This comes mostly from her second passive, which reduces resistance for those specific elements to opponents that are hit by Elemental Skill or Burst by an amount that depends on how many Cryo and Hydro characters you have on the team. And here lies the positive difference compared to a character like Chevreuse. While the latter's effects will only be available if the entirety of the team is made of Pyro and Electro characters, there is more flexibility in Escoffier's case, since the effects will just decrease instead of disappearing completely if there are some different elements in the comp. Still, there is a large gap between having just 3 characters that fit the element and having 4. The resistance reduction jumps from a measly 15% to an unprecedented 55% for the 2 cases respectively, so while it's not forced, it's highly incentivized to have a completely specialized composition. Moving on, her Elemental Skill is the main way for her to deal damage. When used, it will deal some AoE damage on cast, and then deal AoE damage over time around every second for 20 seconds in total. I'm a bit dubious about how much AoE it is at the moment, because in Genshin it is pretty rare to have great sub-DPS with good range in that sense, even for very strong ones like Emily, Yelan or Fiorina. However, given that in the Cryo archetype we have Keia, Rosaria and Citlali that all deal AoE damage with their abilities, it gives me some more confidence that Escoffier will be nice in that sense. The damage she deals this way is nothing short of great, honestly. The skill has a long duration and a nice multiplier, and considering it follows the active character instead of staying anchored somewhere on the field like Chiori or Emily's abilities, it should have pretty good consistency as well. Lastly, her Elemental Burst is also a very important part of her kit. It's pretty simple, really. It deals some huge damage on cast, heals the whole team, and then initiates a heal over time effect for the active character for a total duration of 9 seconds. Yes, on top of everything else she does, this character also heals the team. However, before focusing on that, I want to focus on the total damage she deals first. Combining her skill and burst damage, her output is comparable to dedicated sub-DPS like Chiori and Emily in their best conditions, which is honestly one of the most impressive things I've seen from a character in recent times, considering how strong her kit is excluding the damage. On a double Hydro team with Fiorina and Yelan, so in a situation where all of them benefit from the team-wide effects, she's not really that much inferior in terms of damage compared to them. All of these characters provide buffs for the team, but Escoffier also heals, and that's the real outlier here. We really haven't ever seen a defensive character with such impressive damage-dealing properties. And the healing itself isn't even bad. It's not a situation where it's great offense but bad defense. Taking somebody like Yansan as an example, her healing is really meh to balance out her offensive kit being really strong, but in Escoffier's case the healing is pretty good even with a damage-minded build. Since the healing scales off of her attack, of course it gets better the more you focalize your artifacts on that specific stat, but doing so will decrease her damage. Honestly, I'm really impressed. I had to triple check her multipliers because her dealing so much damage on top of healing and supporting like she does is just so surprising for a Genshin character. Characters such as Chiori, Emily released not too long ago, but their kit are just so much less well-rounded compared to Escoffier, despite having a similar level of team limitations. Anyway, the best method to really evaluate their impact on the meta is seeing how strong your teams are, but before I move on, let me remind you that if you enjoy my content but you haven't subbed yet, please consider doing so because it really makes me notice your support. Team-wise, Escoffier has a type, and of course it's Freeze. The thing with Freeze is that it's a reaction that doesn't work against bosses, but against mobs is an extremely good way to render them completely helpless by stun-locking them, which helps the team both offensively and defensively. Because of how good it is in some situations, I suspect the developers kind of set a ceiling of damage for the compositions compared to the rest of the meta, and this ceiling of damage just felt pretty meh in situations where Freeze didn't work. Escoffier is basically the developers picking up a sledgehammer and smashing that ceiling. I've prepared some team calculations that should give a pretty good idea of what I'm saying. Compared to somebody like Shilonen, that previously was the best in slot in terms of damage for these teams, Escoffier provides a similar level of supportive effects if Fiorina is on the team, and on top of that she deals 20 times her damage. As a baseline though, Shilonen's supportive effects would be better, because while she reduces resistance by a smaller amount, Cinder City giving a big damage bonus is really good, but with Fiorina on team, Escoffier can offset that thanks to her team-wide healing, which translates to more fanfare stacks and more damage bonus. The results honestly speak for themselves, because these Fritz compositions went from being outdated in terms of damage to pretty much top of the meta level if you exclude the outlier that is Mabuika Melt. And this is with very old cryo DPSs like Brisley and Ayaka. Honestly, it's very easy to imagine that a new strong cryo DPS, for example Skirk maybe, could reach a Mabuika Melt level of DPS with this type of backline. Something nice is also that Escoffier gives a new use to Shenhe. Shenhe's problem has always been that characters of other elements, such as Kazuha and Shilonen, provided more for cryo than she did, despite her being a dedicated support for the element, but Escoffier placing a big emphasis on the team being fully composed of Hydra and cryo gives Shenhe a very meaningful role again, also considering that compared to the other two, Shenhe also provides cryo particles for the team. Anyway, besides this type of use, Escoffier also offers much more. Her being a team-wide healer that deals great damage gives her a pretty consistent place alongside Fiorina even in non-freeze compositions. For example, I assume it would be a very good option for Hu Tao double Hydro teams and Nouvellette hyper teams. Her off-field damage is also good enough that she will probably have some interesting use cases in teams that allow her to melt. It's not her main thing for sure, but it's just to really give you the idea that thanks to how well-rounded her kit is, she's gonna have a very solid place in the meta as a whole. Honestly, I fear nerfs here. Even accounting for all of her limitations, the totality of what she provides seems too much to me. But if she releases with this kit, she's probably gonna be bordering on must pull if you like the archetype, and considering that there will probably be a bigger focus on cryo moving forward with probably Skirk and the cryo Archon on the horizon, she seems really good. And with this, I'm done for today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and also go check Loot Bar to the link in the description below. Bye bye!